Lil Durk's federal murder for hire trial is officially underway in Los Angeles, and in the first week alone, a judge has already made a ruling that could shape the entire case. His own music can now be used against him in court. Everything in this video is drawn from federal court filings, contemporaneous news reporting, and official statements. Lil Durk, legal name Durk Banks, is charged, not convicted. Under the law, he is presumed innocent unless and until a jury says otherwise. Where facts are still contested, we'll say so. To understand this case, you have to go back to November of 2020. That's when Davon Bennett, the rapper known as King Von, a rising star signed to Durk's Only the Family label, was shot and killed outside an Atlanta lounge following a confrontation with an associate of a rival rapper, Quando Rondo. Only the Family, or OTF, was the Chicago collective and label Durk built in the early 2010s. To fans, it was a music brand. To federal prosecutors, they would later argue it was something else, and the feud between OTF and Quando Rondo's camp, which had already played out for years in songs and online, didn't end with King Von's death. According to federal prosecutors, in the months after King Von's death, Durk made it known he would pay whoever killed Quando Rondo, real name Tyquin Bowman. The government alleges that reward eventually reached $1 million, and that members of his OTF circle began quietly recruiting people to collect it. Prosecutors say the plan came to a head on August 19, 2022 at a gas station near the Beverly Center in Los Angeles. Quando Rondo and his entourage were there when gunmen opened fire at least 18 rounds, prosecutors allege, believing he was in a nearby vehicle. He wasn't hit. Instead, his 24-year-old cousin, Saviay'a Robinson, known to friends as Lul Pab, was struck. She died at a hospital a short time later. In the years since, Quando Rondo has spoken publicly about her death, at one point mourning her online and describing her as someone who died because of the alleged bounty on his own life. For 2 years, the case built quietly. Investigators worked through phone records, financial transfers, and social media activity, trying to connect the shooting back to the alleged bounty. It broke open on October 24, 2024. Federal court records show Durk had booked 3 separate one-way international flights that same night to the United Arab Emirates, to Switzerland, and a private jet to Italy. U.S. Marshals arrested him near a Miami area airport about an hour before the Italy flight was set to leave and booked him into the Broward County Jail, held without bail. His arrest came alongside a federal indictment naming several other OTF-affiliated men in connection with the same shooting. Durk pleaded not guilty. His attorneys denied the allegations from the start and pushed to have the case thrown out, arguing prosecutors were trying to turn rap lyrics and online posts into evidence of a real conspiracy. The criminal case isn't Durk's only legal exposure. In February of 2025, Saviay'a Robinson's family filed a wrongful death lawsuit in Cook County, naming Durk, his business manager, and his Only the Family label as defendants, a separate civil track running alongside the federal criminal case, seeking damages for her death. The trial date moved repeatedly, from January to April to August of 2026. Then, just weeks before it was set to begin, prosecutors escalated again, sweeping new racketeering charges, transforming the case into a full RICO prosecution tied back to Chicago. RICO, the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act, was built to take down entire organizations, not just individuals. It lets prosecutors put years of alleged conduct in front of one jury, painting a pattern instead of a single act. For a defendant, that's dangerous. It lets jurors hear about things they aren't even directly charged with. It's the same law federal prosecutors have used to dismantle entire street gangs and cartels, and the same law Georgia state prosecutors used against Young Thug's YSL case, the closest cultural parallel to what Durk was facing before these charges were split apart. Durk's team crowdfiled, arguing the government was rewriting the case at the last minute. On July 14, 26, the judge agreed. He severed the new racketeering charges from the upcoming trial. They'll be tried separately later, and told prosecutors plainly, "You had over a year." It meant the jury in the first trial wouldn't hear the sprawling RICO narrative. They'd focus narrowly on the murder-for-hire allegations tied to the 2022 shooting. For Durk's defense, keeping that racketeering evidence out was a real, if partial, victory. That's where things stood a month ago. This week, the case moved into its next and most consequential phase. Jury selection began Thursday, August 20th, before U.S. District Judge Michael Fitzgerald in downtown Los Angeles. Durk is being tried alongside 3 OTF associates, DeAndre OTF Diddy Wilson, David Brownies Lindsay, and Asa OTF Boogie Houston. All 4 have denied the charges. Wilson and Lindsay had separately asked the judge to split their trial off from Durk's entirely, arguing they shouldn't be judged alongside the case's central, far more famous figure. Their request did not stop the joint trial from proceeding as scheduled. Picking that jury took 2 full days, working from a pool of roughly 80 candidates. Much of it turned into a direct conversation about rap music itself. One prospective juror said the genre suggests violence to her. Another said she wasn't sure she could stay impartial about the defendants because of it. The defense pushed back, asking jurors whether they had judged any other genre of music the same way. By Friday, a final panel of 12 jurors and 4 alternates was seated. It wasn't smooth. At one point, jury selection reportedly slowed after a prospective juror said the defendant simply looked guilty to her, a moment serious enough that it became its own story before the panel was finalized. Then, on the same day jury selection opened, Judge Fitzgerald issued a ruling that immediately became the story of the trial. Prosecutors can use Durk's music video and lyrics for his song Piss Me Off as evidence against him. The government argues the song speaks directly to Durk's motive and intent in the aftermath of King Von's death. His attorneys have argued the opposite for months, that rap lyrics and music videos are creative work, not literal confessions, and shouldn't be handed to a jury as if they were. This fight is bigger than one song. Rap lyrics have been used as evidence in criminal trials for years, and the debate reached a national audience during the YSL RICO case against Young Thug in Georgia, where a judge conditionally admitted 17 sets of his lyrics over defense objections that had violated the First Amendment and unfairly targeted black artists. That controversy pushed real legislative change. California passed a law in 2022 requiring courts to weigh the actual evidentiary value of an artist's creative work against the risk that a jury simply convicts them for the art itself. A similar federal bill has drawn support across the music industry, but Durk's trial isn't happening under California state law. It's federal, and Judge Fitzgerald's ruling shows how differently that balance can land in a federal courtroom. It's worth knowing how that Young Thug case actually turned out. After more than 2 years in custody and a trial that stretched on so long it became Georgia's longest running criminal case, Young Thug pleaded guilty to gang activity and no contest to the RICO conspiracy charge in October of 2024. He was sentenced to 40 years, with the first 5 commuted to time already served, and walked out of court that same day. It's the closest real precedent for what a plea or a conviction could actually mean for Durk. The judge's approved evidence list goes beyond the lyrics. It includes a 911 call from a witness to the shooting, multiple music videos, footage of Quando Rondo's own reaction to the attack, clips from Durk's appearance on a podcast, photos pulled from his iCloud account, and a collection of text messages. There was one more pretrial battle. Prosecutors wanted a Chicago police gang expert, Detective Kevin Kilroy, to testify broadly about OTF. Durk's team moved in July to exclude him entirely, arguing the government gave inadequate notice under the rule governing expert witnesses. On August 19th, the day before jury selection, Judge Fitzgerald split the difference. Kilroy can testify about general gang terminology, the expectation that members retaliate for a fallen associate, and the challenges investigators face pulling phone records in gang cases. But the judge blocked him from offering any opinion on which defendants actually belong to which gang. Prosecutors have also named who's actually expected to testify against him. 2 associates, Casey OTF Jam Hester and Kavan Vonnie Grant, have agreed to cooperate in exchange for leniency. Grant was among the men originally charged in the case. According to the government's own court filing, they're expected to testify that Durk personally approved the plan, helped coordinate travel, and promised payment once the job was done. Other cooperating witnesses remain unnamed, their plea agreement still under seal. The charges Durk faces are severe: murder in aid of racketeering, stalking resulting in death, conspiracy to commit stalking, conspiracy to commit murder for hire resulting in death, and discharging a machine gun in furtherance of a crime of violence resulting in death. Prosecutors say a conviction on all counts carries a mandatory life sentence. Durk's attorneys maintain he was not in Los Angeles at the time of the shooting and argue prosecutors don't have direct evidence tying him to the actual plot. Only lyrics, posts, and circumstantial financial ties they say are being stretched to fit a theory. The day before jury selection, Durk's father, Dante Big Durk Banks, posted an emotional plea on Instagram asking supporters to keep the family in prayer through what he called a 3 to 4 week trial. Banks himself served nearly 25 years in federal prison on a drug conviction before it was overturned in 2019 and has remained a visible presence beside his son since the October 2024 arrest. He told followers the family believes they'll ultimately win. Opening statements are expected Monday, August 24th. His father's timeline lines up with what court watchers expect, a trial running 3 to 4 weeks. Prosecutors are expected to lean heavily on the digital evidence and the newly approved lyrics. The defense is expected to challenge witness credibility and fight beat by beat over what the government's cultural evidence is allowed to prove. Once this trial concludes, the severed racketeering case will follow. No date has been set for it yet, meaning whatever happens in the next few weeks is only the first half of Durk's legal exposure, not the end of it. None of these allegations have been proven in court. Durk is presumed innocent unless and until a jury says otherwise. This has been reporting on public court proceedings, not a verdict. We'll keep this story updated as the trial continues. This is Crimetown TV. Subscribe for updates.